Hi everybody, my name is Helena.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are Speaker Insight, where we help speakers, authors and coaches to build a business on your terms. And for those of you that know the drill, start adding your buzz in the business onto the feed, because we really enjoy hearing what you're up to, what's intriguing, exciting or inviting for you. Maybe you're up for an award, maybe you finished your book, who knows? Tell us what you're up to, what's happening in terms of your business. We've got quite a lot of things going on, but before I say anything, I will do if you've started listening, hashtag replay, because we know that most of you don't join us live, especially with our global audience. So whatever time of day it is for you that you are watching, do hashtag replay and let us know what you actually get out of listening, because that would be really fun. Kelly's just sharing out all the various
To all of our groups.
all the groups, into Changemaker, into the Connection Hub, and hopefully you are already part of the Connection Hub. That's going to feature a little bit in today's actual training session. Because the Connection Hub is really where the conversations actually take place. It's where speakers, authors and coaches join with people who provide services for them to actually have a conversation about what's happening in the industry, what feedback they could actually get. So if you are not a member, we really welcome you. Rather than just listening to the training, come in and have a conversation, and do say hello when you feel brave to. And if you're a lurker, then, absolutely come and say hello, right? So, whilst we're waiting on you to put your buzz in, I will tell you the buzz in our business. First and foremost, are you aware that it's a new decade very, very soon? Yeah, I know. Kelly doesn't like it when I say stuff like that. So if you are not aware, then have you made your plan? And if you haven't made your plan, come and do it with me. I've got 7 spots left, I think, on the vision board workshop that I am running on the 7th of December. It is the more than a vision board workshop. It really is holding a space for you to think about, what do I want to create for my 2020 and indeed for the whole of the 2020s. So please do come and join me. It is a fun and enlightening, if not a slightly grueling experience.
Instant manifestation happens after that workshop, as many of the Connection Hub members know.
Yeah, completely. In fact, I actually spoke to someone on Saturday who is literally fulfilling. She did this on the 7th of December last year, and she's sold her flat, bought a small one, bought a house in Spain, and life is completely different. So, life is good, all with ease and no effort. So there's that. For those of you who actually want to really get your year going, the Connect and Create days, we have the schedule, and we are now telling you that on the 23rd of January, we've got the Connect and Create day coming up. If you've never been to one, it is the place to, and there's only 16 of you in the room. It's the place to come and not only meet Kelly and I, but also fellow Connection Hub members. So fellow speakers, authors and coaches, to do some networking, to find some collaboration partners. But a lot of it is actually, part of it is the networking, the connecting, but part of it is actually the getting your head down, coming out of your business and doing the creation in your business with a little bit of feedback from either Kelly or I. And it's a brilliantly productive day, is what we have on good authority, because of the feedback that we've been asking for.
Nice
See what I
link.
did there.
Put the links in the comments there if you want to book your ticket. They do go really quickly,
They
these
do.
tickets, and there's only 16. Well, there's already some gone.
I was going to say there's probably only about 11 left, actually. So please come and join us. We would love to meet you. You made manifest in our world is a really good thing, and this is the real buzz in the business for us. We've been working on this for probably about
feels like a long time.
three or 4 weeks, but it feels like a lot longer than that, but we'll tell you a bit more. So we are launching the directory, or rather relaunching the directory. It's kind of directory V2,
yes.
Which is good. So we'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. The big thing really is this. We are talking about how to get feedback and act on it. Is there anybody that's sharing their buzz in their business so far? Okay, so I'm just going to go straight in, and we'll hear from you if you join us. Feedback really is, I'm sure you've heard the phrase, feedback is the breakfast of champions. It makes us better. It helps us to develop better solutions. As speakers, authors and coaches, it really captures the energy and the movement in your business. And it only really works if you're willing to listen to it. And so there's a whole other live that we could do on how to receive feedback, but that's not what this one's all about. Or indeed, so we've got a couple more coming up for 2020, I reckon. Now, the thing about this is acting on feedback. What we mean by feedback in this instance is the information that comes back at you that helps you to make your products and offerings better. And really, for us, acting on feedback is absolutely vital. And the great thing about being a speaker, author, or a coach is, of course, that there's usually you or up to about 4 or 5 of you in the business. So we are small and agile businesses that can course correct much more easily than, the bigger organizations around. And that is absolutely amazing because it allows you to get better quicker. So we love feedback. We listen a lot. On the back of that feedback, and on the back of listening, and by listening, what we mean is, we see what happens inside the Connection Hub. We hear what's going on.
Got our ear to the ground, haven't we?
Yeah, we do. We make it a part of the business to actually be listening out for what is actually happening. And the thing about it is that as we listen, as you listen for what's actually happening, whether it's direct or indirect, and we'll say more about that as we do the training, really you start to hear what's needed and required. So having just said about the Connect and Create Day, that was never intended as a product, but we kept hearing that the people in Changemaker, in our membership, we kept hearing that they would love to meet. We kept hearing inside the Connection Hub that it would be great if we could actually connect. And so we were like,
People felt alone, didn't they? They felt alone running their businesses. So they wanted to actually spend some time with like-minded, like-valued people and actually have some time out of their business without the distractions of the dog and the dishwasher and everything else to actually work on their business. Yeah. So even though I was very reluctant to do more events,
I said, but honey, it's what they want. And so that's actually turned into a product that was never planned. And feel free to let us know if you've had a scenario like that. We'd love to hear about that, because if you are listening, if you're listening carefully, if you're actually acting on the feedback, it may well be that one of your products is the thing that you never planned for, you never expected to put into your P&L. That's the one with all the figures. But you never expected to actually kind of do that. And for us, the Connect and Create Day is a source of so much goodness, but it wouldn't really, if we were just sat back planning, we would never have thought it up. It only came out of feedback. So here's what we really want to say about feedback. Some of the best ideas come not from you, not from us, but from the people we serve, from our customers and even our prospects if we know how to listen well. It's our job as providers to really hear, to act on what we hear and to really get a sense check of, would that be useful and where would it be useful in the business? Yes, by all means, when you hear something, don't just go and do it. You need to do your due diligence. You need to evaluate the impact, the cost, the time. Is it part of the process? Isn't it? But most of all, you need to really trust that if you hear it often enough, it's likely to be needed, and it would be really foolish of you not to act on it. So we wanted to give you our take on how feedback can impact directly on the products and services that you do in your business.
And we're going to keep it at quite a short one today because there's not lots to teach, but it's just a more of a sense check for yourself. Am I doing this correctly? Is it something that's consistent? And we're going to share some tools with you of some ways that you can do it effectively, some software, some things that actually make it a lot easier so that you can collate that information, analyze it, and then act on it, right?
Yes.
So that's what we want to make sure that you do. So the first thing, there are 2 ways that we've sort of alluded to get feedback. The first one is actually to ask for it directly, and we'll talk about who you can ask it from. Yeah. And the second one is actually listen to it. So we've done a combination of both of them. We've asked our avatars, our clients, what they want, but actually listening and seeing some of the themes that come up in just the Connection Hub, we're like, oh, this is a really hot topic. And you'll probably see most of our trainings like this come from listening to what you want. Yeah. So I do want to make sure that we don't confuse feedback with testimonials.
Yeah, it's a real distinction. It's a tiny kind of difference, but it's a big difference.
Yes, and testimonials are feedback in a way, because they're giving you, are you on track? What's the type of results that you're getting with your clients? How are people feeling about you? Yeah. But we've got a whole live, which I've just put in the comments, about how to get and use powerful testimonials. Yeah. So make sure that if that's an area you want to develop, watch that live and then come back to this to know how to use it, right?
Completely.
So testimonials, as I said, that's one way that you can ask people to give you some feedback. The thing with testimonials is most people, when they give a testimonial, they expect in their head for it to be positive. Yeah. So therefore, they're actually editing out a lot of the stuff which they're like, yeah, but that wasn't very good. Yeah. And they're just showing the good bits. So you don't always get a true evaluation of your performance when you ask for a testimonial, because people think that there's always got to be a positive spin. But it's still feedback, right? It's still giving you absolutely insights of what you're doing well.
And the chances are that actually they want to say the good stuff about you because they know that you're going to use it as a reputation piece out there. So you need a slightly different angle on how you get it directly, don't you?
Yeah. So another way to ask for it is actually by actually doing debriefs. This is a great thing that I think a lot of speakers don't do enough of, is when they've actually done a speaking gig with somebody, most of the time it's like, yep, great, contract's done, I've been paid, I'm off.
On to the next thing.
The best thing for you to do is to phone up the event organizer and actually go, okay, can we have a debrief call? Yeah. What went well? What actually did your audience take from this? What's the ROI that you think is going to happen from this? Yeah. Do some measurings we've spoken about before on other lives. But actually doing that debrief allows that person to give you feedback, so you can see how you're continuously developing. But actually for you to get some honest feedback about how your message landed. And this is normally a great way, the debrief call normally leads to more work, right? If you're a speaker and you're an executive coach, sometimes they go, that was great, everyone feels motivated and inspired, but the word on the street is that they feel like you've opened up a bit of a can of worms and they don't know what to do next. But you go, well, I can come in and do a 90-day training program with your SLT, for example. So don't lose that opportunity for the next step.
To the point where you can actually build it into your process. For those of you who've already built it into your process, good for you, because a lot of the juice actually happens once they've been sort of delivered to once, because that, as Kelly says, it opens things up in whatever direction, and you want to absolutely be part of that, because if you're a change maker in the world, and we expect that you are if you've been listening to these and if you're part of our world, then part of that is that you do go and stir the pot a little bit, and then what happens? But you need to know what that impact is so you can go and do some of that.
Other things to think about doing for feedback is actually regular audits and assessments with the people that you're working with. And this is more actually for an evaluation for yourself about how much impact am I making? Are they making progress? Because sometimes the numbers don't lie, right?
No, so promises of delivery, right?
Yeah, people always want to say the best thing and go, yeah, that was great, I felt great. But actually, if the impact isn't happening and they're not getting the results, that's where auditing and assessing actually goes, well, you've moved this far. This is how this is your sales figures here. This is where they are now, or your efficacy.
And they may not be experiencing it because they're in it. And so part of your job really is to help them understand where they've moved from A to B. Because a lot of the time, I don't know about you, but when we're in the midst of change, we get that something's happening, but we don't understand the impact and what it is, right?
So another thing to do, so we've done testimonials, debriefs, audits and assessments. Another good thing, which is I encourage everybody to do, especially when it's early stage, is market research. Yes. Okay, so you can use lots of assessment tools, things like Typeform or SurveyMonkey. I'll put them in the links for you in a minute. So these are things that you can send out with questionnaires, so people can actually work out and give you feedback and give you insight into, I would like this, I'd prefer it at this price point, this was too long, I wouldn't be open to that style of coaching.
And particularly because sometimes actually you get more from those if you make them anonymous rather than named a lot of the time. So it may actually be that there's an element of that goes in. So they might not actually be ready for a debrief because they might not feel comfortable with that, but they can do it in a written form because they don't have to say who they are.
Yeah. And market research, as I said, is really good at early stage, because before you go and create a product or a service or a keynote or whatever it might be, do some research that it's actually what your avatar wants and needs, okay? You've got to make sure it lands with them, rather than we would have never created the Connect and Create Day, as Helena said, unless we weren't listening to you. And that came from feedback. I think it's also good to make sure that you are doing regular feedback forms. Now, these could be things that you give out at an event. You've just had a light bulb moment.
I have had a light bulb moment. So I'm going to share this light bulb moment. So part of this is actually, I'm looking at the title of this live, How to Get Feedback and Act on It.
Right.
I actually personally think we've named this wrongly in the light of the 2 other feedback sessions that we might teach.
Right.
Because feedback is a really touchy, sensitive, personal subject. And I suspect that a lot of people are thinking that this one isn't about feedback from customers, but actually about feedback about themselves, because people hide from feedback. So I'm just really aware of this. Like, I'm aware that normally there's a few more people around. Like, maybe it's just that you're all hiding from the cold.
Maybe it's bloody freezing.
Yeah, that's it. But I suddenly had an aha around the fact of, do people think they know what to do with feedback, and are they actually thinking about this? So anyway, that's just the little aha that actually goes on in there, and that in itself is feedback. And that was why I was kind of doing the smile in this way. Sorry.
Oh, to get inside Helena's head.
Welcome to my brain.
Let me go back to what we said that we were going to be talking about.
Whatever.
So we've got the ways to get feedback when you're asking for it: testimonials, debriefs, audits and assessments, and market research.
Sure.
And the next bit that I was going to go on to was actually asking about using feedback forms. Okay, so feedback forms are really important when you've delivered something, maybe at the end of an event, maybe coaching session, and you can have them printed off. I also quite like, there's a software here called Feedia, where you can actually put that widget onto your website. So feedback forms are available all the time, so people can actually go on and assess them. And sometimes it's a bit rushed. At the end of an event, people want to go home and you don't get the time to actually fill that feedback form in. So sometimes it's better to send them to a link on your website. We do that after our Connect and Create days and our retreats, is we actually give you something to fill in afterwards where you've got more time to fill it in. But make sure that those feedback forms are there, and we have a mix of anonymous and named ones, so that you know, there's a reason why we want to put your name on it from our retreats, because we want to know how we can help you next.
Completely.
So the other thing to do is on a regular, it's a bit like a market research side of things, but it's to do polls. So you could do polls on your performance, your impact. You can do polls on your content. You can do polls on your products. You can do polls on what people's needs are. I see it regularly, people using the 5,000 plus people in the Connection Hub to actually go, hey, anyone working in this sector or is this avatar, what is your priority of this? What's the most important? So they know what to create blogs on, what to create content on.
What are the trends? What appeals most? Yeah,
definitely. I also think that it's quite good when you're doing keynotes as a speaker to actually be more interactive with your audience. And I've just put another link here of an anonymous collaboration, which is a bit of software where you can actually do polling and asking questions and getting feedback whilst running a workshop or whilst running a keynote. So you can actually get a feel of how your audience is feeling at the moment, right? On a certain topic, they can vote, they can do this. So this is actually helping you read the room, and then you might actually gear your presentation a little bit more in a certain area if more people have voted for that.
Yeah, because it's instantaneous, right?
And this is good business management, is actually getting yourself or a VA or someone in sales to actually do spot checks. So people that you're either working on one-to-one, people that are going through your online programs, people that have attended an event, it might be good for you to actually say, let's just do a spot check. Let's just do a check-in. Like unexpectedly. Well, I'm not trying to sell you anything. This is just for you to understand. We want to make sure our standards are high and that you're getting what you thought you were. And just do a 15-minute call with that person. They feel really valued as well.
Trust me, and so I do this a lot within the Connection Hub. I'm very much the person that just kind of goes, hey, I heard you say this the other day. So if you've been, on the receiving end of this, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, sometimes when people say things, I just want to delve a little bit deeper, because that actually allows us to you, again, hear the feedback and go, so what did you mean by that?
Yeah.
Like, and is that a common thing? So I tend to have a sense for the themes that are actually going on, but hearing it firsthand is one of the best ways to get that.
So spot checks are great for standards, keeping standards high, making sure your finger's on the pulse, and also, as Helena said, checking in with people when you're got your ear to the ground and you hear those themes. And then the last thing is more, but these are the chunked up things of ways to ask, is to basically ask for reviews. So this is different testimonials. Again, yes. And you'll see this, potentially, if someone's bought a product or a service or a book from you, for example, why don't you make sure that, a month down the line, you send an email out asking if how do they get on with the book? What do they like about it? Would they be willing to review it? Put the Amazon link in there. And then therefore you're getting the feedback. Now, you'll see if you've got a book and it's on Amazon, people are normally quite honest on Amazon reviews. It's not a testimonial. It's not asking them to blow smoke up, then that sort of thing. It's the fact of actually saying, this book was good, but it could have been better if it had this, or it's all the same.
That's it.
So we always want to encourage you to have at least 30 Amazon reviews. And obviously, if you can get 5-star reviews, that's what you're aiming for.
Yeah.
But it's about you asking for a review of a product or service, which is slightly different to feedback forms, I feel.
It is, and I'm going to go off slightly, but it's still relevant. Part of feedback, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a moment around who to ask, but part of feedback is to really look at the 3-star and the 1-star reviews, maybe not of your product, but of a competitor's product, because that might actually help you tweak your own, or indeed actually create something that is aligned to that.
Oh, it wasn't practical enough. It was too much theory.
So you go, okay, good to know, right? Yeah, good to know.
So there are ways that you can directly ask for feedback. The thing that we were alluding to at the beginning is actually making sure that you're listening to it. Now, the listening to feedback might not be directly on your product or service or you. It might be more about your industry that you're in, or the area that you work in. So, but we still want to make sure that you've got your ear to the ground, because this is where you can be ahead of the game.
It's so juicy.
And be responsive to what people want, So I would say just have things set up, whether it's a weekly check-in or reminders on like Google Alerts or something like that for keywords that come up, for things that are associated with your brand and your industry. So definitely have your company name as a Google Alert set up. Definitely have keywords there that are really strong to your brands. And what Google Alerts does is it sends you an email every day and tells you where those words have been mentioned.
That's it.
If someone's saying something bad about your company,
you want to jump on that.
You want to jump on that and deal with that, right? So that's, again, when looking for hashtags on Twitter, which is what most people will use, the mentions on there, for example. But also you can use something called socialmention.com, which I'll put in the link as well. And this is a good way to do some research, but also to see if you have been mentioned and if things have come up. So this is the first thing about listening out for it, is having your ears to the ground, look what's being said in your industry. Another one, and that's also about trends. You can use Social Mention. They've got a whole section down on the left-hand side which shows you the current trends. So again, it allows you to respond to things that are in the industry at the time and be that leader. Because remember, it's not just feedback on you, it's feedback about what's going on and how other people are responding to things.
And that then allows you, and again, we're not going to make this about anything other than feedback, but of course, something like that can help you develop the content that you're actually wanting. Partly, again, because you have that agility. And hopefully, if you've watched enough of what we train, then you've got some buffer time that allows you to not only build in time to think about the feedback, but to actually then act on the feedback in various different ways, right?
And that's exactly what my next point here is, actually having some form of way of recording commonly asked questions, common themes that come up in your communities that you're part of. We do this in the Connection Hub, and this is how these lives are created, right?
Would you believe it?
We have a matrix in there of what people are asking for, and then when we see that there's enough demand, because 4 or 5 people have said that in this month, then we'll actually say, okay, we'll schedule that for a live in next quarter. So it's, and that's, we've done nearly 2 years worth of content now of every Tuesday of these lives, and they've all been in response to what you want.
And here's what I want to say about that, because some of you might be freaking out about that. it's not just Kelly and I, right? We go, hang on a minute, we know a little bit about that, but who knows more? So being open to actually kind of inviting a guest in and actually have them share as part of your platform so that you can host those people may be a different way of doing it as well. Again, it's still all about listening for the feedback and then going, am I best placed to actually do something about that feedback, right?
And the bit of the combination, when we've got that, we use a spreadsheet for us, but you can use Evernote or whatever it might be as the best way.
Because we're spreadsheet girls, really.
Geeks, right? But what we do on that is when we've got some key themes, you'll see in the Connection Hub every quarter, we put a poll out going right back to how to ask for it of the key Facebook Lives that we've heard that you want, and we get you to vote on them to double check that this is still an issue and this is still something that you want some content on. And so it's combining those two things.
Well, that's exactly it. And so I just want to tackle but what are people going to think of me if I ask those questions? Actually, our experience is, and this is our experience via clients as well, is that they love it because they get to be part of building something.
Yeah. And you feel like you're being responsive rather than, we know what you need.
Yeah, completely. You know? Like, who wants to listen to that all the time, right?
So, and another thing is, as we said, all of these list keeping your ear to the ground is just making sure you're trained as a coach or as a speaker to be able to spot the nuances, the subtext, the things that people might not be saying.
Yes.
And that's your job, as Helena said, to actually, shake that a little bit and get it out of them. Because if you dig, you're making it better for you. There is no point building an empire on a facade of, but everyone said it was good. Yeah. Well, did you ask your best friends who are always going to give you that information?
That's right.
Or you going out there to people that have paid good money for this and maybe aren't satisfied.
Yeah, that's it.
Right? It's your job to explore, not to put your head in the sand and go, they were a disgruntled customer, I don't want to talk to them. They're the 100% the people you should be talking to.
And I am actually going to say this, sort of like I actually worked with certainly one client, but two really, who on the back of the feedback that we got, we actually ended up honing their business even more into the thing that people really loved. And our favorite question, who has your customers before you or after you? We actually developed and changed the business model in such a way that they ended up doing what they love more of the time, that their customers love, which means it was an easier sell in and of itself, but also added more of the business model by having affiliates in of the who has your customers before you or after you. So the feedback can actually help you switch around your business model as well. It's so vital, isn't it?
It is, definitely. So you need to think about who you need to ask.
And so part of that obviously becomes your clients. I mean, we've talked about that directly. Who are the people that you serve? Because they're the ones that experience you, your product, your model entirely. And asking them directly through all the methodologies that Kelly's just actually kind of gone through, or a combination of them that work well for you, depending on what the product is vital. And for some of you, that may well be about getting a little bit brave and going, do I have something like that? And am I willing to actually do that? And some of that is about you having faith in your product. And if you're getting good testimonials, don't worry about this bit. Like, just go and ask, because they will appreciate that you are trying to make things better. And they will actually be helpful, I promise, because they want to make things better, not only for you coming back into their organization, but in general. They will want to share you out.
And that's a good question for any feedback form. Is, you might gear up the feedback form so we're only going to give you positive responses, right?
Don't do that.
Always have the question in here, what could we improve or do better to make this a better service or product? Always get them thinking, because that's an open question that they might not have put down there unless you ask it to them to say, what could we do better? If we could go above and beyond and make this, a no-brainer or just
spectacular for you,
an extraordinary experience. What would we need to do to turn it up?
And sometimes with that, if you're getting a lot of responses of just blank boxes or it couldn't be any better, sometimes the caveat that you do is you do a little brackets of in terms of results, in terms of financials, in terms of, whatever it is you work with people on. Because sometimes they actually don't need a blank box. They actually need some specifics, some coat hooks to kind of hang their feedback off of. So if you guide them through, as Kelly just said, that actually can give you more feedback. So sometimes it's down to the way that you ask the question. And sometimes it is if you're still getting some of that and not really nothing can be improved, then this type of method of getting that feedback isn't working for you. So try one of the others, right? So that might be you put the audit or the debrief in some way. So your clients are one set of people to ask. Your prospects are another set of people to ask. Now, that might be, you might actually have a network of your own. I mean, we host the Connection Hub. We love that group with a passion. We had no idea that it was going to do what it was going to do because, like anything, we acted on some feedback that we had listened to and we thought about it and went, well, let's give it a go for 3 months. And here we still are, right? And the thing about this is that in that group are a whole bunch of people who need various services. So that's actually a really good place. So if you host your own group, if you've got your own community, great. Or it might be, as Kelly said about the polls just before, it might be that you found a community to be part of that you can also ask questions in.
And when you're asking questions to your prospects, it's really good insight for you to go, okay, so maybe you've done a SWOT analysis on your business and your service. And you might put you and 4 other companies up there and ask the question, who are you drawn to working with and why?
Yeah.
Okay, because this is great insight question for you to go, well, if most people are choosing one of your competitors, you asking the question, and why?
Yeah.
Are they doing it purely because they're cheaper? Is the course quicker? Do they have more credibility than you? But this is a great way of actually working with your prospects to go, what are they making decisions on? To actually work with them.
And then the tangible output from that is you change your landing pages, you change your messages, you tweak your content, you do all sorts of things. So every bit of feedback, because this is the point about feedback, is when you get feedback, do something about it, right? Like, I mean, that's like, it's a given, but I'm going to say it, sort of. And the thing about it is that it is the breakfast of champions. You really can do something with each piece of it. So the prospect level of it really helps you to go, how am I engaging with people and what are they responding to? And that can be invaluable for obviously getting to serve them and turning them into clients. The final piece is, so we've talked about getting feedback from your clients, from your prospects, and your peers are the other side of things because, you get the best practice from that. You get the what's working, what's not working, what's working for you, and why is it working in that way. So they may have the experience that you need to tweak your own product. So that's again about really listening. Because if you hear somebody's story of what went wrong or what went right, and you really start to look at it, you can use their feedback or story to actually make your offering better.
Yeah. I think when you have your peers as well, especially if you're in a mastermind group or something like that, you can have that, do we have permission to give you the good and the bad? Because as I said, sometimes when you're working with your prospects or your clients, they don't feel comfortable in giving you 100% honest feedback, right? Yeah. But if you've got peers around you and you have that unwritten rule that says, okay, go there, you know that they're doing it constructively, you know that they're doing it with love, but it's also a great way for you to test stuff out first of all and get that feedback before you go out into the big bad world. And we really recommend that all of you in some way have a network, a mastermind, a way of you being able to get that type of feedback, because people can be hesitant about giving the bad for whatever reason, right? I'm just thinking of that, when, not that I watch X Factor, but those people that are told by their mums that they can sing beautifully and then they go in front of a stage of millions of people and bomb because there wasn't honest feedback there. They were just wanting to know them to succeed.
Yeah, there's a difference between we love you and...
Anyway, let's not go down that route. So
truly, back on track.
Yes. So you know how to ask.
Yes.
You know who to ask.
Yes.
Now we need to just finally wrap this up with when to ask. And this is just more of a checkpoint for you to actually go, have you got these touch points in place in your user journey, okay? Because it's good to think about getting feedback at all different stages. So the first one could be when, and this is the most popular one when people think about it, is when you finished a coaching session or when you finished a coaching program. So it's been a 90-day program. That's a great way to do some form of feedback and evaluation with them via forms, via debrief, all the things that we've spoken about before.
And you want to have a mix of qualitative and quantitative. For sure.
And that not only gives you the insight, but it also makes that your client feel heard and valued, so that you didn't just go through the program, take that money and then off again, that's done. It's actually going, you know, and just like I said with the debrief, a lot of these evaluations uncover the next stage of the process for them, which could be you or it could be referring it to somebody else. I think it's also important to do some feedback when you're creating a new product or service.
Very much so.
We do this on our retreat when we talk about John and Jeff Walker's seed launch, when you're actually testing out what your avatar wants before you create the program. The worst thing is going to write a book, create an online course, do something, and then go, oh my God, that's too advanced. They wanted the earlier steps. That's what they wanted to pay for.
Yeah, don't create tumbleweeds.
So do that market research when you're in product development stage. Again, a really common one is when you run a live event, you often give out the feedback sheets there and then to collate, so people are in the energy to think what works, what doesn't. And I said before, I always encourage you to potentially send them out again as well afterwards in case people have got something they want to add or they were rushing to get the train. But evaluating live events is a good thing to do. Like I alluded to earlier, when you receive a testimonial or when you receive a complaint, which is actually the preferable thing, that's the time to pick up the phone, right? That's the time to dig deeper into why they loved you or why they didn't have a good experience with you. Because either one of them the feedback isn't there just in the I want a refund or you were great. Okay, we need to really
There's a reason behind it, right?
And both of them you need to grab hold of to know how you can implement it and do more or do less of that or make it better. Okay, so whenever you've received those, act on them and delve deeper into those situations.
In its very essence, feedback is about service. Pure and simple. It's about actually you being able to deliver an even better product or service every single time, and who doesn't want that?
So once you have launched that new product or service that you've done the market research on to know that it's landed, then I would encourage you to go through a stage of beta testing, which means you get a handful of people to go through that program and actually give you feedback on every single chapter, every single module, every single part of the process, so that they are contracted as well to complete what you've asked them to do in a certain time period and to give you feedback. And I would highly recommend you use one of the things that we've mentioned before, like Typeform or Feedio or something like that, to capture that data so that you can actually then analyze it. It's really important. But so beta testing a product is a great stage to actually get feedback on.
And interestingly, for the authors around who are listening, that's a really important thing. When you want someone to actually read your book, you want to make sure that it needs to be read within this time period. A lot of people will put their hands up and go, yes, I will for you. But you want to actually have the feedback within a certain time period. And so you want to be stipulating that. So don't be afraid to put caveats around your feedback either.
Like Michelle that's just asked me to read her book yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, I'll fit that in. I'll read it while I'm on the loo, maybe. I'm really busy at the moment, but anyway. And then the last thing to do is a bit like those spot checks when people are actually in a product or service. But I would encourage you to run regular competitions. So that you can say, look, if you fill in this feedback form about what you've experienced about me and my product and service, I'm going to choose one person every quarter who's going to get free access to this course, event, whatever it might be, for giving feedback. Because most people won't leave a review or do a feedback unless there's something in it for them. Unless they're in the moment and they're like loving it and they're like, yeah, I want to give you a glowing testimonial, or they're really annoyed about the product that it didn't deliver. And it is polarity. It usually is the extremes. You want to make sure that you're actually getting it from a wide scope, and actually running a regular competition every quarter is a way to do that and encouraging people to fill in feedback.
And again, some of that comes down to what are you actually delivering and what's the product or service base that you've got. So you'll know what's right for you. We're always going to offer you a big option. And if we knew more specifically, then we'd go more specific for you. Now, here's the key thing for us. We set up the Connect and Create Day on the back of the feedback that we were hearing. But one of the other things that came in very early, when we very first set up the Connection Hub, as I said before, we didn't really know we knew what we wanted to create. We wanted to create a space where speakers, authors and coaches can meet up with and connect with each other, but also the web designers, the developers, the publishers, the agents, the graphic designers, all of the people that support the business, the VAs, the PAs, the techie gods, sort of in that way. We wanted to have a space where we could put you all together so that you could connect and get what you need in order to go and shift and change the world in the way that you want. And over time, sort of the growth of the group meant that we were, sort of some of the feedback that came in was, actually, I'm looking for one of these types of people. How do I find them with ease?
Or I saw someone put a VA post up a week ago.
Who was it?
And I've lost it.
Yeah,
I
that's
forgot
right.
who they are.
It's like, how did we do that? And so rather than just direct people to the little search bar in the in the group, actually we thought, well, what could we do about that? So we pretty much kind of went, let's set up a Google Doc, because it was an easy thing for us to do. Because again, that's a low-tech way for you to test whether something would actually be working. Yeah. Now, we ended up with, over time,
about 400
or so people in there. And various little bits and pieces kind of happened, and some feedback started happening about that. Like anything.
I can't use Google Docs on my mobile. Is there another way of doing it?
Is there a way to edit it? Can I do this? What do I do about that? And so again, that says A, they're using it, and B, they want something more user-friendly. And so we've just been watching that over a period of time and linked it in with what we've been up to and going, what can we make space for? Because on the back of feedback, there's also if something is required, have you got, we call it on your terms for a reason, have you got the time, the energy, the resources, the money and the skills to put whatever solution in that you're wanting in place? And so over the last
month or
so, we'll say, we've actually been doing something in the background, because now with over 5,000 people in the group, we want the directory to be something that is so much more useful to people and helpful to people. So we are launching the new look directory.
For the 500 odd people that were already on the Google Doc, we sent an email out to you last night.
Yes.
So please check your email inbox.
Please.
And we'll start putting posts out in the hub, because what we're asking people to do is to transfer their information over.
Yeah.
We're not going to be putting your data onto the new one. One, because a lot of people stuff's changed and they want things different.
But also because you get to describe it. You've got spaces.
And also this one, you'll see, I've just put the link in there, so anyone that's watching this that isn't already on there, you get the chance to add your photos, which is bringing all of you to life for us.
It was really exciting, wasn't it, this morning when we kind of both looked at it. It was like, oh my gosh, look, that's that person, not in a little round circle, but like, that's what they really look like.
But it makes it really easy for you to actually put all your social media links in there, your website links, bios, your categories of, are you a speaker, author or coach, or
what you offer,
service,
what you're looking for.
Search for that, right? So if you're looking for a publisher or a speaker agent or a web designer, you can just click that category and then the people will appear, and it shows your location as well. So it's early days, right? We only sent out the email last night, so there's people that have already jumped on that and are making changes, but we hope that all of the 400 or 500 people that are on the Google Doc will start making their way over, and more people will continue to use it. But we would love to hear your feedback on the new version. So whether it's in the post in the Connection Hub or on this live, tell us what you feel about the new directory, whether you like it.
What's working for you, what's not working for you. We want both, because of course the thing about it is you've put a new product out there. Never expect that your new product is perfect, right? So we want you to break it, right?
We had Bethan say, oh, can you expand the bio characters by another 200 characters, because I've got to fit this in. So we did that, right? So all those types of things.
And it's that responsiveness, it's that ability to go, okay, what's wanted and needed, let's do a version 1 of it, and now let's do a version 2 of it, but not assume that version 2 is great until you've had the feedback about it, until it's been out there and tried and tested a little bit. So, I mean, we are geeks for sure, but we absolutely want you to do the best speaker author coaching that you can do out in the world. And one of the best ways to do that is to get feedback, listen out for feedback, and actually implement the changes that the feedback suggests. So we can't wait to actually see you better. So go and kind of pop yourselves into the directory.
Choose a good photo.
Yeah, seriously, because it's kind of fun. But also, please give us some feedback and tell us what you think about it and what's working, what's not working. And on that note, I think we're done.
Yeah, have a great week.
Go get some feedback. Take care.